Hey guys, so one of our older retired relatives recently bought himself a new electric car, and this was his old car. Actually, it was his second old car. It wasn't his main one, it was his second one, and he needed to get rid of it. As we've explained on previous videos, sometimes it is hard to get rid of older cars like this one, which is 9 years old. So he knew we had an old house and a couple of old cars already, so he asked if we were interested in having this car for free. So we said, yes, please. So unfortunately, we got the unskilled car detailer onto it, and he'd already spent 3 hours on it when we decided that you guys might be interested and got the camera out. So he'd already spent 3 hours washing the outside of it, vacuuming the inside, and cleaning mold off the inside frame. The car had actually been parked in a dirt car park out in the open for 9 years. And he really only used this car for taking pieces of tree and things from the garden, rubbish from the garden to the dump. And all around this frame here, this door frame, was actually green with mold. You can see what the inside's like. Haven't got to that yet. And it was just filthy, absolutely filthy. The inside of the car was absolutely filthy. So already vacuumed it once, right? And taken the floor mats out. So sadly didn't think of showing you guys till we'd already 3 hours into this project, but you're sort of getting the idea, right? It was pretty disgusting, really, really dusty, really, really dirty. Lots of leaves and other sort of garden rubbish in there. So I spent 3 hours, gave the outside a quick wash, gave the inside a vacuum, and took the floor mats out because they were just ridiculous. So he didn't look after this. This is his second car. So his main car, he used to drive around with his wife in. He used to keep that reasonably clean and tidy. But this one he just used for himself to drive places and to take rubbish to the recycle centre and things like that. So he treated it fairly disrespectfully, apparently, and just left it parked out, dirt car park, not undercover, just out in the open for 9 years. However, despite that, it's only done 37,000 kilometres. So mechanically, it's actually in pretty good condition. So the unskilled car detailer has a bottle of Armour All there. So doing the Armour All, the dash, and everything basically. Everything that's plastic needed cleaning. So the Armour All works really well. Those of you who haven't used it before, it is a magic stuff because it's good for cleaning mud and stuff. See, there's down there his pedals. He's managed to scuff mud all over the place. So it cleans it off and leaves it really nice and sort of shiny and protected. Try not to get it on the pedals down there. That's the handbrake or the parking brake pedal down there. So the doors too. Just disgusting, isn't it? So the other members of the family looked at it when we first got it and went, oh, don't want to go in that car. And I said, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll get it looking good. Because it's mainly superficial. Just dirty. Never been cleaned would be fair to guess because he just didn't look after it at all. He just left it out in the open. And the other car that he drove, he looks after pretty well. So he's bought his new electric car, which is now his number one car, and then his other gasoline car, which was his number one car, has become his number two car. So that'll probably get neglected now. But just never cleaned. You could just tell. You could just tell it had never been cleaned, inside or out. The magic, that Armour All stuff, isn't it? Makes a big difference. There we go, coming up better. Oh, see the little bits of white fleck that you're seeing falling? That's actually snow. So I actually had to take the car out in the open to do this job because around the doors and so on where it was mouldy, had to use water sort of inside the car a little bit on the bodywork to get the mould off. So this is being done out in the open and it was about 3 degrees and it actually started to snow. It was pretty cold. Washing with buckets of water when it's 3 degrees and lightly snowing is a pretty cold thing to be doing for the old man. Hey, stop snowing on me. Pretty cold. Not heavy. You can see blue sky up there, just a little bit falling now and again. Flurries, they call them, don't they? Snow flurries. So anyway, you're getting the idea. So before this video started, we'd already spent 3 hours on it. And you can sort of see why every little bit needed lots of attention to try and get it sort of half decent. But once we get, the idea is to sort of get it sort of nicer, and then it'll go into our normal, we usually clean our cars fairly regularly to keep them sort of clean. So once it gets its regular clean, it'll get better and better. It's disgusting, isn't it? Don't know how people live with this sort of stuff. Just sort of ignore it, you know. It's pretty funny. So you get the idea. Went round, did all that. All the doors, all the frames around the doors. It was all dirty. Every bit of the car. There wasn't any bit of the car was like, oh no, that's still okay. not one bit. The whole thing was filthy. So no one really sat in the back either. He's retired and so's his wife. And so they didn't usually have people in the back seat. So the seats are actually not in bad nick because he had them folded down. These Wagon-Rs fold down, huge space in the back. Oh, these are the floor mats. Tried to vacuum them and beat them. Gave up on that. Hosed them. Hung them up and hosed them, high pressure water hose. Blasted them with water to get all the dirt out, and the water was coming out brown. So blasted them with water and hung them up for 2 days, let them dry, and then vacuumed them again. Oh yeah, look, the actual bodywork had mould on it. So the frames around the doors were really heavily mouldy, and then you can see that's the sort of mould that was everywhere, all over the car. So keep in mind, this is after we've washed it once already. But just everywhere, there just seemed to be mould anywhere it could grow. Look, see? It was like that everywhere. And all around the frames. When you open the door, it was all around the frames. Now, none of this is complaining, of course. That dear gentleman has given us a free car. So, not complaining at all, right? It's not a complaint, it's just an observation. A slightly amazed observation that it was allowed to get this bad. But it's not uncommon in Japan. We have actually talked about this before. You do see really filthy cars in Japan sometimes. And this was one of them. But you can see the paintwork's actually not too bad. There's about 2 or 3 places where he's hit things. But overall, the paint's actually not too bad. So just a matter of getting the dirt off and getting the mould off. So this is the second time it's been washed, okay? Keep that in mind. Get all the mould off. And the engine was similar. Engine, see, 37,000 Ks, that's not much, right? So the engine runs pretty nicely. It's just, again, it's just dirty in there. Nobody's cleaned it. It would have had its shark in every 2 years. So it's only 9 years old, but every 2 years it would have gone in for its shark in where they do the overall servicing on it. So all the fluids, checked all the fluids, they're all fine. Oils and fluids and everything was fine. Because it's hardly been driven, right? So totally serviced every 2 years and hardly driven in between. So it wasn't too bad. Just dusty and dirty in there again from being on that dirt car park. 24 hours a day, basically. Dust and dirt everywhere. But again, it's only superficial, isn't it? So it's a 998cc. We actually already have a Wagon-R that's about 15 years old. And it's got 140,000 Ks on it. And it's an older one. It's got 650cc engine. This is 998cc's. So it's a big engine. And still, it's only small, isn't it? That's 1,000 cc's, isn't very big. But because of the low weight of the body, these things go really well. They're an excellent car to drive. and super convenient for Japan. You can park anywhere. So this is the second vacuuming, giving it another going over with a better vacuum cleaner. So you can see it's getting better, isn't it? So at one stage, the Wagon-R was the most sold car in Japan. So it's a very sensible car to own in Japan because it's very easy to get parts and repairs, and they're just so common. So very convenient. There's probably the worst part of the body. It's not real big. Just zoomed in on it, so it's not real big. So a bit of rust there. So the idea is just take the rust off with a little bit of sandpaper and just touch it. We happen to have about 4 litres of silver paint that we used. Some of you might remember painting roofs and things at the old farmhouse, the old corrugated roofs. We had silver paint for that. Sort of the same colour, not the same colour, but it's sort of. So just really to protect it, take a bit of the rust off and then just hit it with that silver paint just to stop it getting worse. He's hit a few things. There's a bit of damage around the place. So yeah, just touch it. It's not real big. It's just don't want it to get worse, and it sort of stands out. You know, sort of orange rust on silver paint stands out a bit. So figuring sort of a rough job with this paintbrush, bit of silver paint. It's got to look better than rust, isn't it? That's it. It is the unskilled car detailer, remember? So obviously this is the bumper, so no rust concerns here. It's just purely aesthetic. As with most modern cars, the bumper's just plastic, isn't it? So he's hit that on a few things over the years. So we got one old Wagon-R, and we've got one old Nissan March that's about 20 years old as well. So it's probably going to be the March that's going to get retired. It's got about 160,000 Ks and it's got all sorts of issues. And it can be expensive to fix those old ones, so we'll probably retire that one and just have 2 Wagon-Rs, 2 K cars. Because the trend here at the moment, everybody's driving around in these huge 8-seater cars, you know, with 50-kilo driver and a 20-kilo passenger. It's just crazy. So for us, this makes more sense. Much more economical, easier to park. So you can see that's come up better, hasn't it? It's better. So not too bad. Give the windows a clean. Oh, this is the second cleaning of the windows. The first time was done when the car was washed, of course. But I'll show you something in a minute. What it looked like before it was washed the first time, when the car was actually washed. Have a look at this. Look at this. That's what the windows looked like before it was washed the first time. Isn't that incredible? Anyway, it's all good. So, come up pretty well, hasn't it? For a free car. Because again, 37,000 kilometres isn't much. It's just lived outside for 9 years. That's the only downside. But it's still okay, isn't it? Great car, these Wagon-Rs. Any of you find yourselves living in Japan and need a car, it's a good option. So it's come up pretty well. The other family members are happy to be in it now. They're quite happy to ride around in it now. They wouldn't get in it at first. They're quite happy to now. It took 2 days, about 14 hours or something. But it's pretty cool. Look, see, there's the 37,000 Ks. And of course it's got a Navi and television, which we don't use usually in the car. Better things to do. DVD player and all that other stuff. Bluetooth connection. There's the TV. No need for that. Food show, wouldn't you know it? Typical. Watching people cook and eat food. So yeah, that's all good. Aircon and all the rest's all good. Oh, it's got anti-collision and anti-skid. So the anti-skid's a braking thing, and then the anti-collision thing, pretty common now, isn't it? These sensors at the front sense if you're going to run into something and put the brakes on for you. Apparently. It won't be relying on that real heavily. So anyway, there's the free car. How happy are we with that? That's a good deal, isn't it? Yay. Yay for the Wagoner. Anyway, so hope someone got some entertainment out of that. More videos coming soon.